Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, a first-degree felony. The state is further alleging aggravating factors on counts 1 and 2 because the defendant is believed to have targeted Charlie Kirk based on Charlie Kirk's political expression and did so knowing that children were present and would witness the homicide. The state is also charging defendant with count 3, obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony for moving and concealing the rifle used in the shooting. Count 4, obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony for disposing the clothing he wore during the shooting. Count 5, witness tampering, a third-degree felony for directing his roommate to delete his incriminating text. Count 6, witness tampering, a third-degree felony for directing his roommate to stay silent if police questioned him. And count 7, commission of a violent offense in the presence of a child, a Class A misdemeanor, for committing homicide knowing that children were present and may have seen or heard the murder and did so based on Charlie Kirk's political expression. Also, following the press conference, I am filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. I do not take this decision lightly, and it is a decision I have made independently as county attorney, based solely on the available.
Excuse me. Okay, hold on. Let me pull something else up. I always have another extra one up, and then one day I don't. See what it does?
Evident rifle nearby. Over the next approximately 33 hours, police conducted a manhunt for the shooter until the evening of September 11th, 2025, when Tyler James Robinson surrendered to police at the Washington County Sheriff's Office. DNA consistent with Robinson was found on the rifle's trigger. After shooting Mr. Kirk, Robinson hid the gun, discarded the clothing he wore when he fired the rifle, and told his roommate to delete incriminating messages and not talk to police. Children were present at the time of the shooting. Turning Point USA, a nonprofit organization founded in 2012 by Charlie Kirk, organized a public outdoor event to be held at noon on September 10th, 2025, UVU. The event was the first in a series of similar events to be held at college campuses nationwide. Mr. Kirk is a well-known conservative activist, famous for these type of events, where he discusses various political issues and debates with audience members. His events and comments have garnered a significant number of supporters and drawn the ire of many who disagree with his political views. The event at UVU was announced far in advance and garnered significant publicity and interest. Consequently, several hundred people attended. Mr. Kirk was interacting with the crowd before the event officially got underway. Then at approximately noon, Mr. Kirk seated himself under a portable canopy behind a table and microphone. He began speaking to the crowd and fielding questions from attendees, format Mr. Kirk commonly used at his events. Mr. Kirk allowed his questioners to approach a microphone positioned directly in front of him. Mr. Kirk's team members were very close to him on his right and left, as well as some behind his canopy others at various close locations near him. The large crowd surrounded Mr. Kirk on three sides. Temporary metal fencing separated attendees from Mr. Kirk by only a matter of feet. Directly above and behind Mr. Kirk was the UVU flags, an indoor walkway spanning several hundred feet with floor to ceiling glass windows which overlooked the plaza where Mr. Kirk was seated. People were in the walkway at the time of the shooting. Approximately 15 minutes into the event, Mr. Kirk was answering a question about mass shootings by transgender individuals when a gunshot rang out. The bullet struck Mr. Kirk in the neck. He slumped to the ground almost immediately. The bullet's trajectory passed closely to several other individuals beside Mr. Kirk, including the questioner who was standing directly in front of Mr. Kirk. Children were visible near Mr. Kirk's stage when he was shot. Were visible. Mr. Kirk was rushed to a nearby hospital where he was declared. Mr. Kirk was rushed to a medical hospital where he was declared deceased.
Sorry.
The medical
doing a new
examiner's
thing.
report
Hold
is
on.
still
Sorry.
pending.
We're live.
So UVU surveillance. So at the moment of the shot, a UVU police officer was watching the crowd from an elevated vantage point. As soon as he heard the shot, he began to scan the area for threats. Believing the shot came from a rifle because of its sound, he looked for potential sniper positions. He noted a roof area approximately 160 yards away from Mr. Kirk as a potential shooting position and rushed there to look for evidence. The suspected shooting position is adjacent to an open, publicly accessible walkway. To access the suspected location, a person must climb over a railing and then drop to the roof only slightly below. The UV officer climbed over the railing and down onto the roof. He then walked to the suspected shooting position and confirmed a clear shooting corridor between the position and Mr. Kirk's seat. He also noticed markings in the gravel rooftop, consistent with a sniper having lain on the roof, impressions in the gravel potentially left by the elbows, knees, and feet of a person in a prone shooting position. Police reviewed surveillance from the camera covering the roof and discovered that it recorded an individual dressed in dark clothing cross the railing from the public walkway and drop onto the roof at approximately 12:15 p.m. Although the individual moved out of the camera's view for a short time, the camera again captured the individual running across the roof and then low crawling to the area the UVU officer recognized as where the suspected sniper had dropped into a prone shooting position. After a short time, which matches the known time of the shot, the individual arose and ran across the roof to the northeast. This discovery led to an intensive review of UVU surveillance recordings to attempt to track and identify the suspect. Surveillance revealed the following. At approximately 11:51 a.m., the suspect entered campus from the north. He is seen wearing a black shirt with an American flag in the center, a dark baseball cap, and large sunglasses. Throughout the surveillance, the suspect keeps his head down and rarely raises his head enough to get a clear image of his face. As he proceeds across the campus, he is seen walking with an unusual gait. The suspect walks with very little bending in his right leg, consistent with a rifle being hidden in his pants. This unusual gait continues until the suspect is seen crossing the railway off the open walkway and onto the roof, where he leaves the camera's view. A camera later captures the suspect as he runs across the roof to the suspected shooting position. Immediately after the shot was fired, A camera captures the suspect running across the roof carrying an item whose shape is consistent with a rifle. The suspect is then seen climbing down from the roof. He appears to drop the item he was carrying as he hits the ground in a controlled fall. He then picks up the item and runs toward the northeast end of campus. Expanded crime scene investigation. Law enforcement officers followed the suspect's escape path to the northeast end of campus, where they believe the suspect left campus and entered a wooded area. In that wooded area, investigators found a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel. The rifle contained 1 spent round and 3 unspent rounds. This is consistent with the facts officers observed at the time of and immediately after the shootings. No shell casings were found on the roof, suggesting a bolt action rather than an auto-loading weapon, and only a single round was fired. Each round in the rifle contained an etched inscription as follows. The fired cartridge was etched, no Tice's bulge, O-W-O.
No Tice's.
What's this?
Notices. Girl.
The second cartridge that was again not spent. The last 3 were not spent, were not fired. The second, hey fascist, catch with arrow symbols. The third cartridge, oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow. The fourth cartridge, if you read this, you are gay, LMAO. The rifle, ammunition rounds, and towel were sent for forensic processing. DNA consistent with defendant was found on the trigger, other parts of the rifle, the fired cartridge casing, 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges, and the towel. Law enforcement was unable to immediately locate the shooter, so they published photos of the shooter from the UVU surveillance cameras and asked for the public's help to identify him. Meanwhile, law enforcement continued to try to identify the shooter through other means. The Washington County investigation. On the evening of September 11th, 2025, as law enforcement continued their investigation, Tyler James Robinson went to the Washington County Sheriff's Office with his parents and a family friend to turn himself in. Robinson's mother stated that the following to police. On September 11th, 2025, the day after the shooting, Robinson's mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought the shooter looked like her son. Robinson's mother called her son and asked him where he was. He said he was at home sick and that he had also been at homesick on September 10th. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspect shooter looked like Robinson. Robinson's father agreed. Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle. Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied that he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home. As they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there is too much evil and they...
Okay, y'all, real quick, there's a section coming up called the roommate, and it is gonna get weird.
Robinson to speak with a family friend who is a retired deputy sheriff. At Robinson's father's request, the family friend met with Robinson and his parents and convinced Robinson to turn himself in. The family friend spoke to police and reported telling Robinson that it would be best if he brought all evidence with him to the sheriff's office to avoid police having to search his parents' home. The friend also asked Robinson if he had any clothes that were related to what he did. Robinson replied that he had disposed of the clothes in different areas.
I'm going to read this to y'all again after, just so we go over it again.
Interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson.
The roommate.
The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting, and he did provide those messages to police. On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson.
So the day of the
said,
shooting.
"Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." Police found a photograph of this note. The following text exchange then took place.
A text exchange.
After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What?
What?
You're joking, right? Robinson, "I am still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson, I am. I'm sorry." Roommate, "I thought they caught the person." Robinson, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering." Roommate, "Why?" Robinson, "Why did I do it?" Roommate, "Yeah."
We'll read this.
Robinson, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it." Roommate, "How long have you been planning this?" Robinson, "A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it."
Why would he put all this in writing?
I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it.
This doesn't make sense.
Robinson again, "I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle."
Who says vehicle?
IDEK if it's had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The F in messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notice bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke, all right. I'm gonna have to leave it. That really effing sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine, IDK. I think that was a $2K dollar scope. Wink, wink. Robinson again, delete this exchange. Again, Robinson, my dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle and it is very unique. He's calling me, RN, not answering. Robinson, since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA.
This is
Robinson,
a little bit
I'm going to turn myself in willingly.
specific.
One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. Again, you are all I worry about, love. That came from Robinson. Roommate, I'm much more worried about you. Robinson, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. The search for Robinson's residence. Police executed a search warrant on Robinson's residence.
Okay, now we're in the search warrant section.
Police discovered a shell casing with etchings like the etchings found on the shells in the rifle near UVU. Police also found several target boards with bullet holes in Robinson's home. Now, as I stated in the beginning, when I read those allegations, these are allegations. And like the evidence set forth in this statement, those allegations, what you've heard from the media, even from state and federal officials, has not been tested in the crucible of a jury trial.
True.
I understand the public's desire to know the facts. My own family members have pressed me for information. Why are we reluctant to share the details of the investigation itself and comment on the case? Because I want to ensure a fair and impartial trial. I became a prosecutor because of my love for the ideals of this great country and the principles embedded in our Constitution. The free exchange of ideas and opinions is critical to this great American experiment, but so too are the protections afforded to the accused found in the Fifth and Sixth Amendments. The right against self-incrimination, the right to a speedy and public trial, the right to the effective assistance of counsel, the right to confront one's accusers, and the right to compel the attendance of witnesses. And perhaps most importantly, under our Constitution, the accused is presumed innocent until we, the state, prove to an impartial jury of defendant's peers his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. That jury cannot rely on our allegations, on what they hear in the news, or on what they hear from a public official. The jury is the sole trier of fact, and they will ultimately determine those facts based on evidence a trial judge has determined is admissible. Again, as prosecutors, we bear the burden to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But make no mistake, we welcome this burden. I'd like to now introduce my trial team who will be charged with prosecuting the case. This is a veteran and expert team of some of the state's best trial attorneys. Chad Grunander, who is one of my two chief deputies, Ryan McBride and David Sturgill on the far right there. And those two were very much involved in preparing search warrants, did a phenomenal job, worked day and night to see that accomplished well after he was, Robinson was taken into custody. Also, Lauren Hunt, she is one of our special victims prosecutors, and Chris Ballard, my second chief deputy, who will be handling motions. I'm going to explain just the procedural steps. We're not a grand jury. We don't have a grand jury system like the federal courts do. It's a preliminary hearing system. So the arrest and filing of the criminal information are merely the first steps in the criminal justice process. Today at 3 p.m., the defendant will appear before a judge in the Utah 4th District Court for his first appearance to be informed of these charges and to ensure that he has an attorney to represent him. The hearing will be brief. The judge will conduct that first appearance virtually via WebEx. This is not unusual. In the 4th District, all felony first appearances for defendants who are in custody are held virtually. A link to that hearing is available for media on the Utah State Courts X account at Utah State Courts. Now, following defendant's first appearance, he will be entitled to a preliminary hearing. At that hearing, the state will be required to show probable cause that defendant committed the crimes. The purpose of the preliminary hearing is not to determine guilt, but simply to assure the court that the prosecution has enough evidence to proceed to trial. If a judge finds probable cause and binds the case over for trial, an arraignment hearing will be held. At that hearing, a judge will again inform defendant of the charges against him and require him to enter a plea to each charge. The next step following the arraignment is an opportunity for the parties to file any relevant motions and then ultimately the trial itself. This case has generated a tremendous amount of interest across our nation and even the world. The public's desire for information is understandable, but it bears reiterating that this case will be tried in a court of law consistent with our Constitution, not the court of public opinion. Thus, we will only discuss the case with the press occasionally. It will not be a day-to-day or even week-to-week occurrence, but we will only do so in a manner as not to jeopardize the fair trial process. Before I conclude, I want to express my appreciation for the tireless work of our local, state, and federal law enforcement officers. They have an extremely difficult, dangerous, and often thankless job. I'm proud to acknowledge the exceptional work they do every day, and particularly their work on this case. It was truly a marvel to witness. Their skilled work and dedication have brought us to this point. I'm also grateful for the leadership demonstrated by Bo Mason, the Commissioner of the Utah Department of Public Safety, FBI Special Agent in Charge Rob Bowles, Utah County Sheriff Mike Smith, our local police chiefs, and Felice John Vitti, the acting U.S. Attorney for the District of Utah. I'm also grateful for the support of our Governor, Spencer Cox, and our Attorney General, Derek Brown, who is standing behind me today and has offered his support and resources as.
Okay, it's like buffering.
Finally, I want to. They haven't.
As not a narrow with CNN, the text message that
it's cutting out.
Did that happen over? Can you kind of give us a sense of did that happen over several hours? Did it happen?
I don't have that information.
Emily Anderson, Stern, the Solid Review. I know, acknowledging that you made this decision to pursue indefinitely independently. Did you hear it all from the Trump administration or Governor Cox's administration as you were working on these?
Did you hear from the Trump administration?
I talked to officials from both administrations, but I was not pressured to make a decision. I understood their feelings on it because it was in the news, but we didn't really discuss that.
Mr. Gray, the FBI director.
Any indication that transgender issues
played a role in the motivations for the?
Did trans issues play a role in the
I'm going to
motivation
stick
for
to what I just stated in my public, in our information. I think that is
We'll read
pretty
that
much set
after.
forth there.
Mr. Gray, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, just asking, are you planning to file additional charges against anyone else?
Additional charges against anyone
Again,
else?
we don't have any information at this point of additional suspects, but I know that our law enforcement agencies are continuing to follow leads.
Mr. Gray, the FBI director today said that you are, or that other people, a number of people are being investigated and interrogated.
Investigated and interrogated, a number of people.
Yeah, I'm not.
Do you think that the suspect was a lone wolf, or could this be part of a?
I can't
Lone
comment
wolf?
on that. I'm not aware of all their investigation. I just know that these agencies are continuing to investigate this case and follow all leads.
Mr. Gray, Jim Spiewak with.
Would like to know, how does this possibly interface with any federal charges?
Interface with
That's up to
Fed
the
charges.
feds. They have different charges and they're reviewing the evidence. And after they review the evidence and the law, they could file charges, but I'm not privy to exactly what they're looking at.
Dennis, have faith with the NBC. You spoke a lot about text messages with the roommate. The governor previously said the roommate is cooperating, but could we see charges against the roommate?
Charges against the
Again, I'm
roommate.
not prepared to answer that question.
Mr. Gray, is it unusual to cite a political motivation as an aggravating circumstance?
Political
It's part of our
motivation
code. And so we charge that.
as an
And
aggravating.
Mr. Gray, Jim Spiewak with KUTV. For those that aren't of a legal mind, is this a confession? The text messages, is that legally a confession? And is he cooperating since he's been taken into custody?
Ultimately, a judge will determine that at trial.
And cooperation,
So
has
not a
he spoken
jury?
at all? Has he been cooperating since he's turned himself
Again,
in?
I'm not going to comment on that.
I think that any statements at all.
Mr. Gray, Morgan Chesney, NBC News.
Okay.
What more can you tell us about the suspect's time online that some say radicalized him?
I am not aware of that information. It's, again, still under
Radicalized him.
investigation.
Still under
And has he
investigation.
expressed any remorse so far?
Has he expressed
I am
remorse?
not going to comment on that.
Is he
No comment.
continuing to not cooperate?
Choosing
I'm
not
not
to
gonna comment on
cooperate,
that.
no comment.
FBI director has been way out in front in terms of presenting evidence to the public.
FBI
Your
director.
team has been very circumspect, very measured in what they've let out. Does that hamper your investigation and go back to this?
Trying to
Well,
pit
as
FBI
attorneys,
and
we
local.
typically like to control that information to preserve an impartial jury and a fair trial.
Does the suspect have representation? Is he a lawyer yet?
Excuse me?
Does the suspect have a lawyer?
I don't
Lawyer.
have that information.
We don't know.
Can you tell us more about what the family may have said in interviews?
Um,
His mother?
What the family said is what I provided.
Mr. Gray, do you anticipate that the defense will try to get this trial moved out of Utah County, and how will you respond to that?
Will they try to get it
That-
moved
From where?
from Utah County?
That the defense will be from Utah County?
That they will try to get the trial moved?
Try to get the
Um,
trial moved.
I couldn't predict what they're going to do.
Is there any evidence to suggest that the timing of the shot and the question that was asked about matching?
Any evidence to suggest timing of the shot lined up with the question and the incident?
That will be for a jury to decide.
Oh, big news.
No part of this attack whatsoever.
Again, I'm not going to comment on the evidence.
But the evidence so far, does it show any involvement?
Again, I'm not going to comment on other than the facts that or the evidence that we've gathered so far.
Does the mention of the DNA here in the press conference jeopardize his right to appear in trial?
I don't believe so. This is part of a public document that we have to file as we file a criminal information. We have to file a probable cause statement. That's a public document. And so we're comfortable with that.
Are his parents and the roommates still cooperating?
I'm not going to comment on that
Parents and
either.
roommates still cooperating, he won't comment.
The suspect had a hatred of Kirk. What else can you share about that?
I can't share any more than what I've already said.
Mr. Gray,
Every precise shot, do you have any evidence that he went places to practice or have practiced?
He was really good at shooting. Why did he
The
practice?
evidence that I'm willing to share is what I just read in our statement.
and
it's
Mr.
won't
Gray,
say
did you
more.
consult
information.
Erica
We're gonna have
Kirk
to cut
about
it off
seeking the
there.
death penalty?
Did you
If
consult
you could just
Erica
answer,
Kirk?
did you consult Erica Kirk about seeking the death penalty?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
That is interesting. Okay, well, is that JD Vance? Was that him? Okay, that's interesting. All right.
I think all of you know that the charges will be available online. We're in the final stages of processing that, and they'll
I have
be
'em.
available on the UtahCounty.gov website as well as on the Utah County Attorney's website. So look for them there. Thank you.
I have them. New York Times posted it, so we'll read those. I'm just making sure he's not going to come back. Okay. Let's read that document and go over what he just read. Because it was like so much information, and I'm like better at processing auditory than, I mean, excuse me. I'm better at processing when I'm reading it than like auditory. Okay, so let me remove this. No, it's not that. Okay. Here it is. This was posted by the New York Times. Let me put up the banner. Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson, charges announced. Reading. I'm doing my banner. Reading the charging info sheet documents. Okay. So here is the just now recently released to the public charging information, 4th Judicial District of Judicial District Court, Utah County, State of Utah, count 1. Aggravated murmur, a capital felony in violation of Utah Code, that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, intentionally or knowingly caused the unaliving of Charlie Kirk under the following circumstance. He knowingly created a great risk of death to another individual other than Charlie Kirk and the defendant. Conviction of this offense may carry the death penalty or a mandatory term of imprisonment for life without parole, or an indeterminate term of not less than 25 years may be for life. So they also have this targeting enhancement. And somebody did ask a question about this in the press conference. They are enhancing they're enhancing the charges. They become more serious with these little enhancement add-ons. Okay. One of them is victim targeting. In violation of Utah Code, Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because of Tyler Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. So they're going after this Tyler Robinson person even more so than they would otherwise, because specifically he was targeting a free speech type activity, which is political expression. They give a notice. It says, if the trier of fact finds beyond a reasonable doubt that the victim targeting enhancement applies, then the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider the defendant's selection of the victim as an aggravating factor. Okay. Also, another aggravating factor is the violent offense committed in the presence of a child aggravating factor. The sentencing judge can consider, or shall consider, that means must, as an aggregating factor in their deliberations that the defendant committed a violent criminal offense in the presence of a child. Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury. Okay, so again, what was count 1? That's aggravated murmur with 2 two enhancements. That was that he targeted a victim based on political expression and that he committed this heinous offense in front of children. This is apparently an aggravating factor under the code. I don't mind that at all, not one bit. Moving on to count 2. First one was murder, second aggravated by the 2 aggravating factors. And then these are all allegations and just charges until or unless proven in a court of law. Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury. Also September 10th, Tyler Robinson discharged a firearm in the direction of Charlie Kirk, knowing or having reason to believe that Charlie Kirk may be endangered by the discharge of the firearm, and the act caused serious bodily injury. This one has two aggravating factors as well, same ones. Victim targeting because of he apparently or allegedly, I should say, targeted Charlie Kirk because of his political expression and views, and that it was committed in front of a child. So the first one was murder. The second count is discharge of a firearm. I think this is like a similar thing to the Tory Lanez one. Count 3, obstruction of justice. September 10th, the same day of the shooting, Tyler Robinson, with intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the investigation, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or punishment of any person regarding conduct that constitutes a criminal offense, Tyler allegedly concealed or removed the firearm used to shoot Charlie, and the conduct that constitutes an offense would be a capital felony in the first degree. Okay, so the third count is basically hiding the gun, obstruction of justice. Count 4, obstruction of justice again, but it's not going to be hiding the gun. This one is going to be the day after the shooting, September 11th, 2025. Tyler James Robinson, with intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the investigation, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or punishment of any person regarding conduct that constitutes a criminal offense, destroyed, concealed, or removed the clothing. Okay, so the first one was the gun. He destroyed or he concealed the gun. Destroyed, removed, or concealed the clothing that he wore during the shooting. And that's that one. So count 5 was tampering with a witness on the day of the shooting. He believed that an official proceeding or investigation was pending. He intended to prevent the official proceeding or investigation. He attempted to induce or otherwise cause his roommate to withhold testimony. Basically, to his roommate, don't snitch, or his partner, saying don't snitch. Withhold your testimony, withhold your information, withhold documents or items. Directed the roommate to delete text messages. That's another tampering with a witness. We have a second tampering with a witness charge. This one also has to do with the roommate, although it is the next day after the shooting. Withhold testimony, same thing. So he did it 2 days in a row. So that counts as 2 tampering with a witness, I guess, as far as what they're charging. Then we have the count 7, violent offense committed in the presence of a child. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. It says he committed criminal homicide in the presence of children, a child younger than 14, with knowledge that the child was present and may have seen or heard the commission of the criminal homicide in violation of the law. He intentionally, when this is another enhancement, a targeting. So count 7, violent offense committed in the presence of a child. This is another one that's like there's an aggravating factor. This is an enhancement, sentencing enhancement, which is for victim targeting. Okay, and then there's the probable cause statement. We did read this, I do believe, but we'll skim through it again because now it's being included here in the charging documents. Probable cause statement, page 3. Brian Davis of the Utah State Bureau of Investigations, having probable cause to believe that the defendant committed the above listed offenses, submitted the following evidence in support of the filing of this information. So basically, they base this whole thing off the word of Brian Davis, who's with the Utah, Bureau of Investigations. On September 10th, 2025, that's the day of the shooting, at approximately 12:23 p.m., Charlie Kirk was shot and killed while speaking to a large crowd on the campus of Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. That's counts 1 and 2. Police found the suspected murder weapon, a bolt-action rifle, nearby. Over the next approximately 33 hours, get out your Illuminati bingo card. The next approximately 33 hours, police conducted a manhunt for the shooter until the evening of September 11th, 2025, when Tyler Robinson surrendered to police at the Washington County Sheriff's Office. DNA consistent with Robinson was found on the rifle's trigger. So his DNA is on the trigger of the boom boom, of the pew pew. After shooting Charlie Kirk, Robinson hid the gun, that's count 3, discarded the clothing he wore when he fired the rifle, that's count 4 of the, I'll call it the indictment, but I don't know if this is an official indictment. He told his lover/roommate, girl, they're calling him lover/roommate, to delete incriminating text messages, that's count 5, and not to talk to police, that's count 6. Children were present at the time of the shooting, that's count 7. Then they move on to the shooting. Turning Point USA, a nonprofit organization founded in 2012, organized a public outdoor event. Now, this is what he was reading from at the press conference. So I'm kind of skimming through it, but I'm going to stop on parts where I think we need to stop and think a little more. The event was the first in a series of similar events to be held at the college campuses online. The event was announced far in advance. Several hundred people were there. His team members were very close to him, to his right and left. A large crowd had gathered. 15 minutes into the event, Mr. Kirk was answering a question about mass shootings by transgender individuals when a gunshot rang out. Now, the fact that they did include what he was answering a question about, that does stand out to me. Now, someone asked at the press conference, does the question that was being asked at the time have anything to do with the shooting taking place? Is there anything there? The prosecutor declined to answer that question. So I think he actually said that'll have to be sorted out in court or at a trial. Interesting to me. The bullet's trajectory passed closely to several other individuals beside Charlie Kirk, including the questioner, who was standing directly in front of Charlie Kirk. Children were visible near the stage when he was shot. Charlie was rushed to a nearby hospital. He was declared deceased. The medical examiner's report is pending. Okay, so the next section is the UVU surveillance investigation. At the moment of the shot, UVU police officers were watching the crowd from an elevated vantage point. As soon as he heard the shot, he began to scan the area for threats, believing the shot came from a rifle because of the sound. He looked for potential sniper positions. He noted a roof area approximately 160 yards away from Charlie Kirk as a potential shooting position and rushed there to look for evidence. The suspected shooting position is adjacent to an open, publicly accessible walkway. Let's see. The officer climbed over the railing down onto the roof. He walked to the suspected shooting position and he confirmed a clear shot to where Mr. Kirk would have been. He also noticed markings on the gravel rooftop. The rooftop had that gravelly stuff on it. So it was consistent with a sniper having been laying on the roof. Impressions on the gravel potentially left by the elbows, knees, and feet of a person in a prone shooting position. So there was like a snow angel of a sniper on the gravel on the roof. Okay. A gravel devil instead of a snow angel. Police reviewed surveillance from the camera covering the roof and discovered that it recorded an individual dressed in dark clothes cross the railing from public walkway, drop onto the roof at approximately 12:15 p.m. Although the individual moved out of the camera's view for a short time, the camera again captured the individual running across the roof and then low crawling to the area of the UVU that the UVU officer recognizes where the suspected sniper had dropped onto a prone shooting position. After a short time, which matches the known time of the shot, the individual arose and ran across the roof to the northeast. This discovery led to an intensive review of UVU surveillance recordings to attempt to track and identify the suspect. Surveillance revealed the following. Approximately 11:51 a.m., suspect entered campus from the north, seen wearing a black shirt, American flag on the shirt, dark baseball cap, large sunglasses. Throughout the surveillance, the suspect keeps his head down, rarely raises his head enough to get a clear image of his face. As he proceeds across the campus, he is seen walking with an unusual gait. The suspect walks with a very little bending in his right leg, consistent with a rifle being hidden in his pants. This unusual gait continues until the suspect is seen crossing the railing off the open walkway and onto the roof, where he leaves the camera's view. Another different camera later captures the suspect as he runs across the roof to the suspected shooting position immediately after the shot was fired. A camera captures him running across the roof, carrying an item which shape is consistent with a rifle. He is then seen climbing down from the roof. He appears to drop the item he was carrying. He hits the ground in a controlled fall, picks up the item, runs toward the northeast end of campus. Okay. That's all pretty much, we already knew all that stuff. That's been told. Next section is called Expanded Crime Scene Investigation. Law enforcement officers followed the suspect's escape path to the northeast end of the campus where they believe the suspect left campus and entered a wooded area. In that wooded area, investigators found a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel. The rifle contained one spent round and 3 unspent rounds. This is consistent with the facts officers observed at the time of and immediately after the shooting. No shell casings were found on the roof, suggesting a bolt action rather than an auto-loading weapon. And only a single round was fired. Okay. So here are the inscriptions. And this is why I guess that guy said no tices bulge. Girl, is notices. Each round of the rifle contained an etched inscription as follows. The one that was fired, the one that, they're trying to say was the thing that actually unalived Charlie Kirk, it said notices bulge. Ooh, woo, what's this? There was 3 other cartridges, which were what they're calling unspent or unfired. The second one said, hey, fascist, catch, with arrow symbol. Third cartridge, oh, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow, Chow. Fourth cartridge, if you read this, you are gay, LMAO. Girl. The rifle, ammunition rounds, and towel were sent for forensic processing. DNA consistent with Robinson's was found on the trigger. Other parts of the rifle, the fired cartridge casing, 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges, and the towel. Law enforcement was unable to immediately locate the shooter, so they published photos of him from the UVU surveillance cameras and asked for the public's help to identify him. Meanwhile, law enforcement continued to try and identify him through other means. Next section of this charging document is the Washington County investigation. So this is where he called from. This is where he actually ended up being. This is like miles, hours away from where the shooting happened. On the evening of September 11th, 2025, as law enforcement continued their investigation, Tyler James Robinson went to the Washington County Sheriff's Office with his parents and a family friend to turn himself in. Robinson's mother stated the following to police. On September 11th, this is the day after the shooting, the mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought the shooter looked like her son. Robinson's mother called her son and asked him where he was. So this is kind of where we start getting into the more new information. The sort of getting closer to newer information. I don't think I heard this before, the specific stuff. The mom actually called Tyler up and said, yo, bruh, where you at? He said he was at home sick and that he had also been at home sick on September 10th. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her son that the suspected shooter looked like him. Robinson's father agreed. Robinson's mom explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political. He had started to lean more, quote, to the left, becoming more, quote, pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his dad. They have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU. Robinson said that was a stupid venue for the event, and he accused Charlie Kirk of spreading hate. Now, Tyler Robinson's dad reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the person, the suspect, the dad said he agreed it did look like their son. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, the dad contacted Tyler and asked him to send a photo of the rifle. Tyler did not respond. However, the dad spoke on the phone with Tyler. Tyler implied that he planned to take his own life. His parents were able to convince him to meet at their home. As they discussed the situation at the home, Robinson implied, this is Tyler, that he was the shooter and said that he couldn't go to jail. He just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, what's the motive we're being given here? When asked why he did it, Robinson explained, there's too much evil and the guy spreads too much hate. So I had to publicly execute him in front of children and women and fathers and all of that. Because there's already so much hate, I just had to end it. I just had to end it for Charlie Kirk. That's what they're trying to tell us that he said to the family. This is like sixth-hand information, okay? Everybody's innocent until proven guilty. They talked about Robinson turning himself in and convinced him to speak with a family friend who is a retired deputy sheriff. At Robinson's father's request, the family friend met with Robinson and his parents and convinced Robinson to turn himself in. The family friend spoke to police and reported, telling Robinson that it would be best if he brought all evidence with him to the sheriff's office to avoid police having to search his parents' home. The family friend also asked Robinson if he had any clothes that were related to what he did, and he replied that he had disposed of the clothes in different areas. Okay. So that was new, and we're about to get some new information here, but some will be repeated. Again, please do not shoot the messenger. I do not know. I was not there. I am just telling you what is said in the public documents, but this is where we get these rather detailed explanations, and it's like a text message exchange, rather detailed. Okay, and it's confusing to me why he provided so many details in that and just like almost no details with anything else. But this section is entitled The Roommate. Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, and they called him a lover earlier, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate believed messages from Robinson about the shooting and provided the messages to police. On September 10th, that's the day of the shooting, the roommate received a text message from Tyler Robinson. And the text message said, drop what you are doing and look under my keyboard. The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that said, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. Police found a photograph of this note. The following text exchange then took place. So here's the text exchange. After reading the note, the roommate replied, quote, what? Bunch of question marks. You're joking, right? Tyler Robinson, the suspect, he says, quote, I am still okay, my love. First of all, this is supposed to be a 22-year-old. This isn't giving 22-year-olds to me. I'm going to refrain from like saying that every single sentence, but like just out the gate, it's just not adding up to me. I am still okay, my love, but I am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I got to grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I'm sorry to involve you. The roommate/lover says, you weren't the guy who did it, right? The suspect says, I am. I'm sorry. The roommate/lover says, I thought they caught the person. Robinson says, ooh, woo. No. They grabbed some crazy old dude and interrogated someone in similar clothing. Like that, like similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. What kind of vehicle? A van, a car? I don't know. The roommate just says, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Yeah. The suspect says, I had enough of this hatred, of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Okay, except the evidence you leaving right now, which is why it's kind of so weird that he's worried about evidence on the one hand. Like, he didn't want to text anything, so he wrote, I'm assuming that's why he wrote and put something under a keyboard. But then why put all this in the Discord? I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. The roommate/lover said, how long have you been planning this? Tyler said, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I just don't want to chance it. I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I am so worried at what my old man would do. My old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I don't know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints, the fingerprints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Like all of this is like a total, like, yeah, I mean, somebody asked at the news conference, would this count as a confession? And the prosecutor said, that's going to be up to a court to decide. It's like the whole thing's just laid out so conveniently just right here. It's just such a miracle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I don't know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace back to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it, like fingerprints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with me. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? Now he admits to doing that. It's just a one-man show. No one else was involved. What a miracle. The effing messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge ooh woo on Fox News, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm going to have to leave it. This really effing sucks. Judging from today, I would say Grandpa's gun doesn't. Oh my God. Holy. This is sick. He says, remember how I was engraving bullets? The effing messages are mostly a big meme. If I see, quote, notices bulge, ooh, woo on Fox News, I might have a stroke, all right? I'm going to have to leave it. That really effing sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I don't know. I think that was like a $2,000 scope. Then he says, delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who was what. Oh, sorry, excuse me. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me right now. I'm not answering. Since Trump got... Now, this ... means there's other exchange. There's other text messages they're leaving out. See, he goes on, since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. You are all I worry about, love. I'm much more worried about you. Don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. This sounds like lawyer talk. If any police asks you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. Okay, so that's the roommate section. Pretty sus. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Just, I don't know 22-year-old boys like from when I was 22-year-old men to talk like that. But like, I don't know. It's like a whole new generation now. It's like post, it's post WAP. It's post COVID. So who knows? The next section is the search of Robinson's residence. Police executed a search warrant on Robinson's residence. During the search, police discovered a shell casing with etchings, like the etchings found on the shells in the rifle near Uvu. They found another shell casing. Okay, so this is a big finding, or this is a big piece of breaking news. If you have to really like kind of read through it all. They found another shell casing at the residence of Tyler. So they found those 3 in the gun, 1 spent, 3 unspent. And then they also found this specific shell casing in the home. It had the etchings on it, just like the etchings found on the shells in the rifle near the university where the incident happened. Police also found several targets with bullet holes in them in Robinson's home. So this would indicate he was doing some target practice. Police also found several targets. Okay. Count 1, aggravated murder, pertains to the shooting and killing of Charlie Kirk in a manner that exposed others, in addition to Mr. Kirk, to great risk of death. Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm, pertains to Robinson's shooting toward Mr. Kirk, knowing that doing so would endanger those in the bullet's path. The shot caused serious bodily injury to Kirk, ultimately resulting in his death. Count 3, obstructing justice, removing and hiding the rifle. Count 4, obstructing justice, removing and hiding the clothes that he wore. Count 5, witness tampering to the roommate, telling him to delete text messages after the shooting. And count 6 is also witness tampering, also to the roommate lover, telling the roommate, if any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. Count 7, violent offense was committed in front of a child. Based upon the evidence received from Brian Davis, Utah Bureau of Investigations, I have reason to believe the defendant committed the offense charged herein. Okay. So that was the New York Times reporting on the article, and they were really putting up there what pretty much the script that the guy read from. Now, there's like some updates on, let me show y'all. There's updates on the news, but I really think it's like pretty much exactly what I already just read. But let's check and see. They may be reporting other things here. Thanks so much to Veronica Romero for the $4.99 super chat. Why is he so specific? Why can't we get information like this about other shootings? It's a very, very good question. Thank you for that $4.99. Shout out to Antoine the Great becoming a member. Thanks so much, Veronica, again for the $4.99 super chat. Again, we got sold to Israel and Charlie knew it. It's starting to make me wonder. I am wondering. Um, 9 new updates. So this is just stuff we just already read. The mom told police her son moved to the left politically. According to the charging documents, Tyler's roommate and romantic partner discovered Robinson carried out the Kirk shooting when he sent a text saying, "Drop what you're doing, look under my keyboard." The partner found a note. Investigators are reluctant to talk further about the case. He nodded to potential challenges in trying to find an impartial jury in Utah County, given the level of emotion and news media coverage. That jury cannot rely on our allegations on what they hear in the news. That's what the prosecutor said. Jeff Gray said he had talked to officials from both the governor's office and the Trump administration before filing the charges, but he said the decision to seek the death penalty was his and his alone. He also would not comment on details about the case that have been shared publicly by Kash Patel, the embattled FBI director, or he also wouldn't talk about the suggestion that there could be other people charged in relation to the killing. We typically like to control that information to preserve an impartial jury, but it does look like they could be considering other people. They didn't really rule out a lot of the stuff. They just said they're not going to answer it. Engravings on the bullet casings were mostly a big meme, suspect says, and messages included in charging documents. The engravings found on the shell casings found in the rifle in the shooting of Charlie Kirk referenced memes, the county attorney said. The county attorney, reading from charging documents against the suspect, said that one round was fired and DNA consistent with the defendant was found on the trigger, as well as on other parts of the rifle and various cartridge casings. The notices bulge, "Ooh, woo, what's this?" was engraved on the fired bullet. "Remember how I was engraving bullets?" Tyler supposedly said. "The effing messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge, ooh, woo, on Fox, I might have a stroke." Fox News. 4 other unspent casings also had engravings. Now, we don't know what that other one that they found at his house had on it. Left a note. Okay, yes. Utah County uses an information filing, not an indictment, to charge him. Prosecutors in Utah County have charged him in the killing of Charlie Kirk through an information document rather than an indictment. An information document is a formal accusation filed by a prosecutor, while an indictment is a formal accusation filed by a grand jury. So the information document is a prosecutor filed document. A grand jury document, an indictment, is that a grand jury has sat there and done this. That didn't happen in this case. Context: an information court document allows prosecutors to directly charge someone and requires a probable cause hearing where a judge will determine if there's enough evidence to proceed. Utah County attorney says he has been measured in sharing details to ensure an impartial jury and a fair trial. The county attorney was asked why his office has been measured in sharing investigation information about the Charlie Kirk killing, in stark contrast to the FBI director, who's been more prompt. The state attorney guy said, "Well, as attorneys, we typically like to control that information to preserve an impartial jury and a fair trial." Now, I don't know if that's a dig. Is Kash Patel not an attorney? Patel's handling of the assassination has frustrated and angered people both inside and outside the FBI. Patel, who had posted on Wednesday that a subject was in custody, claimed he had to walk back less than 2 hours later. Patel's style also struck the FBI employees as not in keeping with how previous FBI directors handled similar situations. 20 minutes ago, charges have been filed. What happens next? The suspect in the killing will make his first court appearance today, just hours after the charges were announced. The suspect will appear virtually before a judge in Utah's 4th District Court, so he's not going to be there in person. He will be informed of the charges and to ensure that he has legal representation. The hearing will be brief. Charging documents do not currently list an attorney for him. He will be entitled to a preliminary hearing sometime after the first appearance. This will be during which that hearing, the state must show probable cause that he committed the crimes. The purpose of the preliminary hearing is not to determine guilt, but to simply assure the court that the prosecution has enough evidence to proceed to trial. If the judge does find that probable cause exists, it binds the case over for trial and arraignment will then be held. Okay, so this is not an arraignment. The arraignment is not even going to be the next hearing. So it's just like a charging hearing where they're going to read the charges to him. Let me see what time that is going to be, because let me show y'all this. I did go to the website, the court website. See up here at the top, it says the hearing for Tyler Robinson will be 9/16 at 3 p.m. and will be held virtually. Robinson will not be there in person. To view the hearing live, please watch or read updates from your preferred news outlets. So 3 p.m. over their time, am I an hour ahead? Or what is Utah time? What is Utah time right now? So that's going to be in an hour and a half. Okay, so 3 p.m. I'll come back on here and we'll do that. It is going to just be a short hearing. I wanted to keep this one short. I know my lives have been going into the 2, 3, 4 hour range lately, so I'm trying to keep some of them a little bit short. And I'll probably come back for that later. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. We'll do some more updates later. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation, neither are opinions. Love you, mean okay. Bye. Yeah, it's going to be later today, hour and a half.